Welcome back to HR with Love. I'm Rahana Latif, and in today's episode, we're talking about what it takes to grow a business from the ground up and scale it successfully. My guest today is Glenn Poulos, author of the award-winning book Never Sit in the Lobby. Glenn has founded and led multiple companies in helping teams achieve exponential growth while keeping the human element at the core. Glenn, welcome to the show and thank you for joining me.
Hi, Rihanna. Great to be here.
Your book lists 57 winning factors to grow a business. That's a lot. If you could choose one or two that have the biggest impact on growing a business, which ones would they be and why?
So I don't get to go through all 57. Hey, I have to dwindle it down. No, I'm just kidding. That's a lot. You're right. And the whole idea is you can pick up the book and read any one of the 57 at any point and learn something or pick up a little idea or it's not you have to memorize all 57 or so that's one of the things I like about it. It's just kind of like 57 tips that I learned along the way over 40 years in sales, right? You know, um, so the this isn't one of the 57, but I mean the what the book is about how to get, act, and stay in front of your customers and how to be a pleasure to do business with always. That's what the book is about, right? So what do you mean by that? What I mean is don't be a pain in the butt, right? Like nobody likes that sales get person, right? Nobody likes that guy, who's, just slimy or annoying or, you always want to be a pleasure to do business with. And I deal with a lot of high ticket people, businesses selling high ticket items, and they deal with their customers over a long period of time. It's not just a one and done, take the order and go home. It's so you want to be a pleasure to do business with over the long term. So they call you back, even if you lose a deal or another deal, maybe so always be a pleasure to do business with. But one of the 57 tips that I love starting with and that I love, reinforcing is, and I'll keep it safe for work because it's never fax the facts or ship the SHIT, right? Never fax the facts or ship the, blank. And, and I learned that long ago that anytime a customer asks for something, if you have the ability to hand deliver it, then that's a golden opportunity to get into the customer, get behind the the lobby, and and see what's really going on in the business. And so yeah, nowadays of course there's no fax machine, so you're not going to fax the facts, but don't email them. Don't so always use those opportunities to get in front of your customer, and that's one of the rules. So
Speaking of growth, many business books preach always scale fast. Do you think rapid growth can be dangerous? And have you ever seen businesses fail while they were expanding before they were ready to?
yeah, I mean, on the topic of scaling fast, I mean, it could definitely be dangerous, right? Because and they call it like getting over your skis or whatever, right? Where you get too far forward. And and I've seen companies chasing revenue, before they had the people or the systems or the culture to support it. And they often don't end up deserving the business that they get, right? And then what tends to happen is the wheels come off, customers get poor service, employees are going to burn out, the quality is not consistent and it drops typically, and growth is good, but uncontrolled good growth to me, I find it is risky, and I feel that you should build the foundation and then scale, right? So you want to be building something that can run. It's like a race car, right? I mean, if you're going to compete, you got to make sure the tires, the transmission, the brakes are all suited for the speed you're going to be traveling, and or you'll end up having trouble, right? Um but I would scale as fast as I can. I just want to make sure that you've built the systems to support it. It's just not all about going and chasing the next order. So
And also, I think maybe having the right people in the right roles, which is probably the hardest thing.
Yeah, I mean, we follow a similar system to EOS, which is structure first, people second, and you get the right person in the right seat, right? And so it's not about the people as much as it is about the structure first, and then it goes to the next step, which is about getting the right person in the right seat. And a lot of people get that wrong in the early days, where they just divide up the chores amongst whoever's in the room, right? And I call it VP in the room syndrome, right? Where you're starting a company, and you and like three other guys have sort of pulled together to get this company. It's like, okay, you're VP sales, VP marketing, you're VP finance. I'll be the president. It's VP in the room, and then Sally walks in, and you're like, oh, you could be VP of customer service, right? And by no means are any of them suited for the role, nor do they know what the right structure for the business is, right?
And of course, scaling isn't just about speed. Technology, like AI, plays a huge role as well. How can founders use AI effectively without losing control? And where do humans still need to call the shots?
So for me, I see AI as a powerful tool, but the founders, they need to stay in control of the important parts of the business. And so the final piece, talking to the customers, I don't see us automating that, but coming up with campaigns and ideas on with which we can bring to the customers, it's so powerful. And in my new business, as I sold my company in Canada, moved to Florida, and I'm in a much smaller company now. I'm using AI every day to come up with ideas for the latest marketing campaign, flyer ideas, how to structure my brochures, and how to come up with ideas to put deals together. And it has so many ways that it can bring deals together, right? But in the end, you have to present it to the customer. You can't expect this automated call setting and stuff like that. It would never work in my business. I would never release that, at least not at this point. I would never release that to AI. And I like to say, customers buy trust, and they buy judgment, and they buy relationships, and those can't be automated. But the tools in helping to research, handling routine work, marketing ideas, social media ideas, it's invaluable help. Also, contracts, reading an 80-page contract and focusing you in on what's important, but still at the end you have to figure out what parts of that contract are a problem for you or not, right? So that's a short answer on AI. That could be a very long conversation, and but I feel we should all be very blessed, feel blessed to have AI at our disposal. It's quite the helper. So
Yep, but we don't want to get rid of our humans.
no, we do not. No,
We
no.
streamline the processes and make it more effective and efficient, but we want to keep the humans in their roles.
Yes.
Growth is about people, and often high growth companies struggle to retain top talent. What's the key in attracting and retaining talent when the business is growing fast?
So when it comes to attracting and keeping talent, they're kind of, I feel there are a little different ones: attracting them, getting them in, and the other was making them want to stay, right? And so, but people stay where they feel valued and where they see a future. And so, during fast growth, sometimes people focus only on the customers, and they forget about to invest time in their team, right? And so I'm a real believer in setting core values for your business, taking time out with your staff to develop those core values and make sure everyone really believes them. You don't just Google them and like, oh yeah, these are our, customers first, things like that, and people matter, and like those are not core values. Those are just sayings that you download, right? But if you can set the core values, and then you can hire people based on them, reward them for doing the right thing, have them call out others for doing the right thing, I found that really moves the needle in terms of people's morale and their cultural sort of fit inside the organization, right? So hire, fire, motivate, train along the lines of your core values, right? And so, and the other thing is that even during the tough times, like people like to be in line behind a leader that can make decisions, even during the tough times, especially during the tough times, and sometimes, it's like, we're maybe 1,000 people company. We had to lay off 100 people. I'm very sorry. We've done everything we can to help them land safely, but this is the plan for the 900 of us that are left. We're going to do this, this, and this, and people will rally behind that vision, and that when they don't see that vision, and when they don't see that solid decision making, that's when they feel wonky, and then they want to start looking around, right? So if you're put in a position of leadership, your biggest job is to make decisions and lead people, right? They want someone to follow in line behind. 99% of people want a good leader. They don't want to be the leader. I actually spend several chapters on empathy, sympathy, and compassion in my book, and how you develop positive rapport and learn the difference between what those mean and when to apply them. And to me, those are very important concepts. And they're used that are words that are used often, but most people don't understand them and they don't know how to apply them.
Glenn, for our listeners, do you have any final thoughts?
So my final thought is always, one of the titles of one of the chapters, it's you only get forever to make another impression. And so I always, especially the younger people, when they're looking ahead towards their career, they might not realize it, but every decision that they make on how they behave in a situation is affecting their long-term career. And you often wonder, how does a guy go from being in the warehouse to being the CEO of a Fortune 500 company? Because you read about it all the time, right? The guy started as a line technician or something like that, and all of a sudden now, 20 years later, is the CEO, because he treated every decision and every behavior as a first impression, like his mother taught him, right? Always make a good first impression, because the people that guide your career along the way are watching how you behave in all situations. When the work is hard, when it's slow, when it's demanding, and they want to see how you behave, and those become the people they call upon to move up the ladder, right? And so whenever you see an opportunity to demonstrate, above average performance in front of the people that control and guide your career, make sure you take full advantage of it, because it does matter.
Glenn, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights into growing a business. Until next time, growth isn't just strategy, it's people. Lots of love from London. Bye for now.